Hey everybody, welcome back. It's another episode of Jake Talks Star Wars, and today we are talking about a book review for Star Wars Bloodlines by Claudia Gray. This was published about 9 years ago, so I've reread it recently. And it's a great book. It's a lot of fun, and it's very, very interesting and sheds a lot of light on things that are, pretty important for the sequel trilogy to kind of help us understand why the New Republic is not a major part of this fight against the First Order, and kind of what's going on politically, what has happened politically. So it's very, very valuable as far as that kind of stuff goes. So unlike Lords of the Sith that I reviewed earlier this week, which Lords of the Sith doesn't really give us anything new, this book does. At least I think so. This book does. It's set about 5 years before. It's about 5 years before The Force Awakens, maybe six. Maybe a little bit longer, I'm not sure, but I think probably about 5 years is a safe bet. And it illustrates the problems in the Senate and how the Senate is overrun and overtaken by these two political parties, the populists and the centrists. The centrists are, really, not to mince words, the centrists are very much like former Imperials. They're former Imperials, they're Imperial sympathizers, they're people who didn't think the Empire was all that bad, who like the idea of central authority, who like the idea of having a strong central government kind of keep the reins on everything. And then you've got populists who want more planet-wide, system-wide sovereignty. They want more of that power to rest with the planets. Leia is a populist. And then her political opponents are obviously, these centrists. Now, it's very interesting because we see these divisions. Now, there's issues that are at place, and the populists and the centrists at this point are still agreeing on a lot of stuff, that like the Empire is not great, even though a lot of centrists kind of admire some parts of the Empire. They all acknowledge the war, they acknowledge the great victories and things like this. So that's interesting. And what's really interesting to me is we see the senator that Leia is kind of like her foil. The Senator Casterfaro is kind of her foil, but he is younger, but he's much more of a Imperial sympathizer for a lot of reasons, right? But he's much more of an Imperial sympathizer. But unlike other centrists, he draws a really distinct line of saying like, hey, listen, the empire was good in the sense that it was organized, in the sense that it was orderly, in the sense that there was law and order and these things, but the corruption of the Empire was bad. The corruption of Palpatine was bad. The corruption of Vader was worse. Having this masked enforcer, having this corrupt emperor, those things are bad, right? So he really wants to throw out the leadership and keep the idea. So he's kind of interesting, kind of unique when it comes to the rest of the centrists. And we kind of go through the book. There's an investigation of the criminal underworld, because there are criminal elements in places like Ryloth and other places that are growing way too fast, way too quickly. They're exerting a lot of control that is kind of fishy. It's kind of sketchy where they're getting this money from, how they're getting it, where it's going, stuff like that. It's kind of fishy, kind of sketchy. So Leia ends up investigating this alongside a centrist senator. So they kind of go on these adventures to do these investigations, and they're finding that there's more to it, right? And ultimately we learn that these are all like shell games and fronts for the First Order, the developing First Order, kind of planning its strike on the galaxy, because it hasn't revealed itself yet. The First Order hasn't. So it's kind of a shell game for that kind of stuff. But the main thrust of the story comes when it is revealed by another member of one of the royal houses who happens to be a centrist senator. This centrist senator discovers a recording by Bail Organa where he reveals to Leia her parentage, that Padme Amidala is her mother, and Anakin Skywalker is her father, and her father became Darth Vader. Like, it's a recording that he stored off planet, that he stored off of Alderaan, that this other royal person discovers. Now, this royal person who discovers it, she's a member of one of the royal houses. There are rules among the royal houses that they can't break a royal seal. They're supposed to keep the secrets. They're supposed to keep everything kind of in the family, per se. But she is a centrist. And she is way more of a centrist than some centrists like Casterfaro. Now, she reveals this information to Casterfaro because she knows Casterfaro hates Vader. And Vader, and then Leia, and then once Casterfaro finds out, he tells the whole galaxy on the floor of the Senate, and everything comes crashing down. The whole galaxy finds out. Ben didn't even know, right? This is how Ben finds out. So the whole galaxy didn't know, and it is a major like blow, right? This political blow to Leia, and it destroys her candidacy for something called the first senator, and it really kind of lays bare the problems the populists are facing, because the centrists are able to cast doubt on Leia's service to the rebellion. They're able to cast doubt on Luke through this, and all these other things. So it's very, very interesting as far as that goes, and it kind of shows what the galaxy is dealing with at this time. And again, like I said, so I'm not doing it justice, but you got to read it. You got to read it and check it out, because it really does kind of show how people react to that, and then who sticks with Leia, right? Which senators stick with her, which people stick with her. There are bombing attacks on the Senate. There's political intrigue. Later on, we learn that this is all the First Order. The lady senator, the royal senator who released this information to Casterfaro, she's a part of the First Order. And so we learn this is all a part of the First Order, and what they're doing to try and hurt the Republic as much as they can. And the book ends with Leia leaving the Senate. I mean, her currency, her political capital is so damaged by this that she leaves the Senate. But she begins to form the resistance. Like, the final pages is her basically telling whoever showed up, and it's the rebels, it's former rebels like Admiral Akbar and Nine Nub and all these others. So she's telling them, hey, the New Republic's on its way out. The sun is setting on the New Republic. The resistance has got to take this fight, because something's happening. They don't know what yet. They don't know what the First Order is yet. They don't know anything like that, but they know something is coming, and Leia wants to be ready for it. So this book really does a great job of illustrating why the New Republic is such an impotent entity in The Force Awakens and in the sequel trilogy in general. Does an excellent job kind of explaining why it's so impotent, and why it's not really able to resist the First Order the way that we would have expected, especially the way that people who read the old expanded universe would have expected, right? We didn't count on political shenanigans happening, and sympathizers and everything else weakening things from within, and so we get some of that, which is, again, it's an interesting story. It has echoes in history, throughout history, has echoes in history, so it's definitely worth checking out. Definitely worth reading. It tells us, it puts more of the sequel trilogy kind of into context, and I think it's a great read. And it's a pretty quick read too. It's not too long. And if you haven't checked it out yet, definitely do so. And if you have checked it out, let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you like this book? Did you enjoy this book? If you haven't read the book yet, go check it out. Read the book. Or buy it. Find it on a used bookstore. Find it at your library, Amazon, wherever. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Definitely worth reading. Definitely worth checking out. But that's my take on it. I've rambled enough for you guys today. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for listening. Remember, take care of each other out there. And as always, may the Force be with you. Bye-bye.